Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well and hope everybody's staying warm if you're in a cold climate. I know it's been very, very cold here in Iowa. And I know my sister is in Arizona, so I don't think she's going to get cold.
It's actually, we're going through a warming trend right now. It's 76 today. So I was like, God, I'm dressed for winter and it's 76. This is like spring weather. So, yeah.
It's 8 now.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's been really, really cold. But tonight we have somebody in your neck of the woods. Would you like to introduce them?
Sure. Thanks, everybody, for being here within the cauldron and behind the witch's veil. Tonight we have a special guest with us straight from Arizona. We have Rita Olson of Arizona Ghost Adventures, and we're going to chat with her about everything paranormal. Welcome, Rita.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
absolutely.
It's a pleasure for you to come on. I'm going to go ahead and let Medium Red get started. I'm going to send out the link for everybody here. So I'll still be here. Just send in the link.
So Rita, tell us a little bit about you and tell us a little bit about Arizona Ghost Adventures.
And it's AZ Ghost Adventures.
I'm
so sorry. There's you.
Oh, that's fine.
In Arizona, you see AZ. Everyone thinks Arizona.
Right.
But yeah, I own AZ Ghost Adventures. I am also its lead investigator. I do have a team, a small team. I like to keep it nice and tight. And I have been investigating for years. I tell everyone I've experienced paranormal all of my life. And you know, when you're young, you don't think anything's different. It kind of is just like the movies where children are, talking to their imaginary friends or seeing things or having things happen, and you're a kid. You don't know any different. You think that's just the way it is. And then as I got older, I realized that it was a little different from what other people were experiencing. And then as I got even older, I actually worked as a paranormal investigator with this company before I bought it. I bought it from its previous owner. So I've been involved with AZ Ghost Adventures for years. And I've really... we actually have a mission statement. We have a paraphilosophy that we go by. And so we not only do we conduct paranormal investigations, but we're very historically based. And we also believe in giving back to the communities that allow us to investigate there. So we try to do as much pro bono work and giving back as possible. And I think that really helps with the connection to the communities also. So that's the Cliff's Notes.
Well, I agree. I love that you give back to the community in that sense. And thank you so much for what you were doing in Globe with the flooding. I understand we were supposed to be on, what was it, like a month and a half ago, I think it was. And unfortunately, for those that don't know, Arizona, when we get rain, it's pretty bad. It can be severe flooding. And unfortunately, the little historical town of Globe took a major hit. And Rita was there to do cleanup for a lot of the businesses there, which thank you for doing that. We appreciate that greatly.
Yeah. And, I spend half of my time. I also work in healthcare. I work in occupational therapy. I tell people I've had patients from a day old to I had a patient that was 105 the other day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so right now I'm more focused on the geriatric population, but I do spend about half of my time in Globe. So I go between Globe and Scottsdale. And Globe is just an amazing city. I mean, I investigate in other cities in Arizona, but I spend so much time there also because I work there. But yeah, the mining history and just all the buildings. And that's a city that really embraces its haunted history.
And I love that they do that. That's so many places don't want anybody in there. I mean, the last that I heard was the Stanley Hotel. They were closed off about it for the longest time. I think they're turning around now, which is great. So I love that Globe embraces it.
Yeah, I was just at the Stanley Hotel a few months ago. And yeah, they were good. In fact, they sent me, I booked it under my company name. So I don't know if they thought I was affiliated with Ghost Adventures, the television.
Oh,
Because I got a really nice champagne and candy basket from them that I wasn't.
no, note to self to try. No, I'm teasing.
We didn't get champagne when I went there.
Yeah, but they were the Stanley Hotel was very, very open to it.
Good.
Yeah. So another place I was at recently was in Mackinac Island.
Oh,
The big hotel out there. Oh gosh.
yeah. Bucket list item. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were not so much. Although I understand they just had like a gathering there, or like a convention with a television personality from the paranormal. But when I was there, they were not too welcome. They even had in the paperwork, it said staff is not allowed to discuss paranormal with guests. So
wow, that's really interesting.
Which was really neat. Yeah, I saw Mist walk across my room and put out some equipment, and it was going off on command. Unfortunately, and I filmed it. Unfortunately, my husband was sleeping and snoring, so that kind of the evidence.
It's a ghost that's snoring. Just say it's a ghost that's snoring.
I'm putting that online.
So, how many historical sites have you been to?
Oh gosh. I've been all over the country. I have opportunity. My husband used to travel quite a bit for work, so I would try to travel with him as much as possible. And I've lived all over the country. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, and then lived in Texas, and then lived in the Pacific Northwest, and then here. So all of those locations, and just I try to get in as much traveling as possible. And Hawaii. Hawaii is an amazing place to investigate at. I've investigated in Costa Rica, and just anywhere I can get to. I think the only places I haven't been, I mean, I've gone up and down the East Coast. The only places I haven't been are like to the Dakotas.
And Dakota is quite a bit of activity.
Yeah. And I used to spend a lot of time in California for my job, but I don't recall that I've ever investigated in California. I would love to go to the Queen Mary one of these days just to see it again, because the history is so very important to me on it, not just to go someplace.
Right.
I would have to say one of the most interesting places I've been recently, though, is the Sallie House.
And where's that? Is that the one you were talking about, Chrissy?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I talked to so many. Somebody, our friends from SIPS, SIPS, from
that's right.
They just went to the Sallie House.
That's right.
Like a week before or something. Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the locations where I'm going back for a Paracon in February. And I need to book another evening there. It's one of the locations. Normally, I mean, I tromp around some of the biggest, oldest buildings in Arizona, and it doesn't bother me. But that location, there was just something about it that was very unnerving. I have my own theories on it. And the basement, I couldn't even go down into the basement. And for me, to, fly somewhere and go investigate, and not even, it was just myself and another investigator who got physically ill when we entered the house. And then we would go outside and she'd go in, and I had the windows, everything to make sure it wasn't like, is it carbon monoxide, something like that. But that was one of the most unnerving places that I've been. And not even so much, I mean, we had paranormal activity.
Right.
I saw a little boy hiding in the kitchen. We had, our equipment, things like that. But it's just, there was just something about that place that didn't want people in it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we talked to somebody, I guess, probably last month, I think in October, well, probably in October, a couple of months ago, who went to the Sally House and said there was nothing to it. And then we had someone that says, "Oh yes, it was
Dennis." It was Dennis.
they
Wasn't
said
it
there
Dennis?
was something or nothing to it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Something or nothing to it.
They said
Nothing.
it was nothing. They said, first we had somebody else that said it was great. They
Right.
got a lot of activity. Then we had somebody who said it was nothing to it. So I guess, how would you define that when another paranormal team or investigator says, "Oh, that's nothing. That house is not scary at all." And then you have somebody else that's like, "Oh yeah, that is," like
Right.
activity. So how would you define that to other paranormal teams or individuals about what you think and what others may think?
Well, and that's a great segue into, about what y'all are about with, witchcraft and other things that go on. I always say that not everyone experiences the paranormal the same. You can have a person standing right next to you and they may have absolutely nothing happen. It's like having a colorblind person standing next to you. You're both looking at the exact same thing, but they're seeing it completely different.
That's
And
true.
yeah, and so when and that's part of what we do with people who come on our investigations too, is almost like a mentorship, that teaching them that don't feel like you have to do it the way that everyone else does, because I feel that the human condition is a huge component of paranormal investigating, which is probably why dowsing rods are my favorite tool, because you become the piece of equipment.
Right.
And yeah, and I so when you investigate, and I always tell people, I am not a psychic medium. I don't want anyone calling me asking me to talk to their grandmother or that's not how it works for me. But what I tell people is and I guess it's an empathic condition, is it's like there's a movie going on in my head and I can see it, but I can't see it. And I tell everyone during our investigations, I say sometimes my line of questioning might just go, veer off into another path. And that is only because I'm going with what's going on in my head. And I tell people, trust your gut too. If your gut's telling you something, we've almost, it's like we're trying to siphon our instincts out, right? Over the years, it's like we trust our dogs and cats, their instincts, but us, no. And so I always tell people, trust your instincts, learn to really trust your instincts. But with me, it's a story going on in my head, and like I'm watching a movie. And when I was there, well, first off, I think that it allows the spirits, because they know that you're receptive,
Right.
communicating with them. And I also come from a place where, again, my background is in medical, and I think that leads to a level of empathy. And I also think that I was driven to go into that field because I used to work in a completely different field where I made a lot more money. But I kept saying I wanted to become a clinician. I wanted to become a clinician. And, was finally able to go back to school to become a clinician. And I think that was part of the driving force also, that it all, like serendipity or fate, whatever you want to call it, that it all happened for a reason, and it puts me where I am right now. So when I go into these locations, I can almost sense who's coming through to me, and and they know that I'll be respectful too. I mean, I have a saying that I do in every single room, because I don't know how spirits can move around where. Maybe they're stuck in a certain room of a house or of a building. And so when I go in with that empathy and that wanting to communicate, and whatever abilities may be there, I find that I get a lot more activity. In fact, people will come on our investigations and they're like, "Oh my God, why is this so active?" And I try to step back from everything, because I don't ever want anyone thinking that I'm touching something or shaking something, making something happen. And I tell our guest investigators, because they're investigators too on the investigation, that I want more than just one thing to happen. I want multiple things to be happening in order to validate what I'm getting. Because one thing happening, I mean, unless it's something that completely moves, which we've had happen before, that could be disputed. So, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here,
No,
you're fine. You're fine.
This is awesome. Go for it.
So, so when I went into the Sally House, and I'm so excited to go back, ironically, I used to always wear 2 bracelets. Like this one is like a little rosary. And then I also had another bracelet that said "God is great" in Morse code on it. And I hadn't taken it off in years. And we walked into the Sally House, and I looked down, and my bracelet is on the floor. But it's still clasped. So it's like, how did that get off me?
Right.
And that was like, and I had heard some things about it. So I was like, oof. So fortunately, I mean, and I have never done this on an investigation before, but I also carry a rosary that someone had given me, a blessed rosary. I carry it in my purse all the time. So I put it on. And, and growing up Catholic in the Midwest, right? You learn you don't wear rosaries. I mean, you don't wear them as jewelry or anything like that. And that's just kind of something that was drilled into me. But I was wearing it as a protection. And right there, I mean, something just felt angry the moment I walked in the door. And are you guys familiar with the story of the Sally House?
A little bit, yes. Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, we have a lot of guests that has been to the Sally House.
The story is that there was a young girl there, and she had appendicitis, and she passed because it just treatment and the things like that.
Yeah, in that time and age, they didn't have the medical technology they have now.
Yeah, so morbidity was much higher back then. But there was also, if you read the information, there was also a elderly woman who lived there, and she was quite old. And then there's also been sightings of there was a boy who lived there, but he was older, but what we call now cognitive global delay, which they used to call mental retardation. And that there was someone who had that also in that building. And I was, through the course of doing SD sessions and just investigating, and again, trusting my gut and what was coming through, was that the older woman was a nurse. The old woman who lived, and I mean, that's substantiated. There was a woman who lived there. She was a nurse, and it was a medical practice there. The thing is, and I mean, this is going to sound out in left field to you, but this is what came to me, and this is why I want to go back. And she had dementia.
Oh, now, wow.
I work with people who, I mean, I've worked on lockdown units with patients. I have
Mhm.
dementia patients every single day. And I know how frustrating it is to dementia patients. I mean, they can get very angry. They can get physically violent. I mean, it's confused. It's just, it's a horrible thing to see.
It is.
And and to see that someone has to go through that. But also a lot of times when people have dementia, they regress
Mm-hmm.
back to a childhood state, which is
Right.
why a lot of times you'll see with dementia patients, they'll be holding like little baby dolls or something like that, or playing. If you go onto a dementia unit, there's a lot of young children's toys there,
Right.
and they've regressed. And something did not want me going down into the basement. I mean, I opened the door and it was like, get the hell out of here. That was what I was getting. Get the hell out of here.
Maybe because you're more medical in tune
Well,
than
and
others
And
of
this,
your
is,
field.
and this is where I'm going, and this is why I want to go back, because what I was getting was that the old lady had regressed, and how she had passed was she had fallen down the stairs,
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
which is quite common.
Right.
Also quite common. But also, what I was getting is she's Sally.
Oh, interesting.
She was in that regressed state,
That makes sense.
and that's why she's so angry.
Right.
Even in the regressed state, they'll be angry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was getting. And I had at one point walked into the kitchen from the living room. I was about, there were just the two of us there, walked into the kitchen, and I turned, when you're walking really fast, I've got a really fast stride too. And I was getting something to drink, and there was a little boy with blonde hair crouched between the refrigerator and the kitchen sink cabinetry, countertop. Because the refrigerator really didn't, the house was built so long ago, a regular refrigerator was awkward in the kitchen. And so there was a space there, and he was crouched there, and I did a double take and he was gone. And it didn't scare me, but it was just like, huh. And so I'm wondering if that's the boy that, with the cognitive,
Mentally challenged.
yeah, thank you, with the disability.
Right.
Because again, he's in that's the state that they live in. I mean, if they don't, cognitively, they don't live, they're not past 7 years old. That's their cognitive level. And so it was an amazing night, but it was kind of like a ton of bricks when it hit me that it's like the old lady, Sally.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing.
And there
yeah.
may be,
It makes sense.
And not to dispute, I know that they had a psychic medium there, not to dispute what she's saying, because there's definitely a lot going on in that house. But, and I was getting medical stuff coming through that the older lady was a nurse when she was younger. So she may have, worked on a younger girl who did pass in that house. I mean, there may be energy there from a child that passed in that house. But I truly believe, and it's not my place to change the story at all. This is my conclusion, and that I want to go back and see if I can validate more of this, is that the old lady is Sally.
Get the evidence. Yeah. Go back and get the evidence that proves it. Absolutely.
Well, we would love to have you back on after you go to the Sally house.
Yeah.
Just to see what the conclusion is. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
When do you
absolutely.
go to the Sally house again?
Yeah. Pardon me?
When do you go to the Sally house?
My trip is in, I don't have that. Wait, I do have that calendar with me. My life. If I didn't have my calendar, I'd be like so lost.
Yeah. Same
Well,
here.
You should see my computer screen. I have, Outlook, and and my husband laughs at it because he's like, I've never seen so many different colors in my entire life. He goes, and they all mean something, don't they? And I go, yep, that's mediumship. That's medical. That's personal.
I want to say it's the end. This is my new calendar. So I'm getting used to the pages on it. Yeah, it's going to be the end of February, the Missouri Paracon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We would love to have you back maybe in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it goes. I mean, I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah,
And
because I got to know the ending.
but that's
It's
how
like
we
a
investigate.
movie.
Yeah, we don't, it's not, I mean, having activity, of course, when people, we're not entertainment. Of course, when people come on our investigations, we want them to have the experience, but we also want them to learn to be in charge of investigating and to come to us with what they've found and be like, yeah, that's great. Now try can you expand on that a little bit more? And we group investigate for the first part of the investigation, and then they can use the equipment. I provide all the equipment, and then they can go. And we have some ground rules. The two biggest ones are you have to be respectful to the property, and you have to be respectful to the spirits. Unfortunately, a while ago, I had to remove someone because they were just, setting up for jump scare type videotaping. Didn't realize that I was during a break. Didn't realize that I was in the building, and it's like, yeah, we don't do,
Yeah.
and we don't poke the bear, as I say. Again, that's not my. That's just not how we investigate. And you go looking for something dark, you're going to find it.
Right.
So yeah.
True.
And you guys would know more so than me. Intention's huge, even if it's if you don't know. Subconscious intention is huge also. So yeah, we keep it all up above board. But I think that's also another reason why we've been into so many locations, because they all know, the city knows that we try to do it the right way and be respectful about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating point of being a paranormal investigator. I belong to two different teams, and so I have to say, I appreciate from both sides of the story, what K-Hall does and what Mackinville does. I appreciate it completely in the sense that we don't poke the bear. I mean, I'm respectful of them. They're respectful of us. That's just a mutual. It's no different than being respectful to you and to Chrissy, in person. It's the same philosophy. So
yeah. Unfortunately, ethically, there's not. There's, and I guess it makes me sad too because there's some buildings that I am very involved with, especially in the Globe Miami area. And so when I see YouTube videos out, because people are always like sending me things, oh my God, did you see this?
Yeah, right.
And I, when I see videos and they don't even have the information of the building correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, right there, your investigation has lost all credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you maybe got something, I would be like, but it's under a false
pretenses. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just have a big issue with that. And I mean, I usually will forward it on to the building owner.
Yeah.
And be like, you do with what you want to do with it. But
and it's nice to hear that you also give back to the community, financially too, in the sense, for these buildings and such, which is, it helps them keep the historical value of them up, which is so incredibly important, for these buildings to survive, I mean, unfortunately there's in Arizona, there's a group of people that are going around, and unfortunately they haven't paid, and then they did pay. I mean, it's
I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it caused quite a stir, unfortunately, in one of the buildings, because it took about 3 months for payment to occur, and that was just, literally.
And that whole booking was under false pretenses.
It really should have been a public event versus just a paranormal event. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so you know exactly what we're talking about.
And I'm very attached to the building we're talking about also. And
I'm very attached to that building too.
And it's like, when I heard about that, I said, oh, no. And
Yeah, I was literally going to pay the fee because I was like, this just gives the paranormal community such a bad name. But I literally was going to like pay the $200 and give it to them and gift it to them and just say, let's just not do this again.
yeah,
But
these buildings are small.
Right.
A lot of them, what uh, they rely on those funds.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done for like Resolution Copper, where they'll bring a group. Oh my gosh, they had like 100 people, and we were at the 1910 jail. And it's like, okay, you guys, we got to rotate this because I can't have 100 people in this. It's small. I can't have
right.
people in that building at one time.
Right.
Yeah. So we try to, where it brings business to the community, because I understand business, and it's like, you want businesses to come to the community also.
Right.
We just had I'm so happy. We just had our 4th annual toy drive, and all the toys
nice.
to the Miami, because Miami's a little bit socioeconomically, they're on the struggle bus a little bit, and they got hit hard by the floods also. They had a flood right before the big flood, and so it's just, even though I live there part-time, I want to give back to the community as if I were a full-time person living there. So, and that's just something. And to me, it's a little personal background. I grew up poor, and, by the grace of everyone, the village, I was able to turn out the way I turned out and, be where I'm at today. And so I've always said, I will do what I can do to give back. I mean, that's just
commendable. I was the same way.
Karma. I'm a big believer in karma. So
same here.
Same here.
Chrissy and I always talk about this. We're always paying it forward. I will always pay forward because I was the same boat you. I was not raised wealthy, or my dad lived paycheck to paycheck. So, and he provided for a family of 5. So I'm the same way. I like to give back to the community as much as possible and just pay it forward, period. Yeah. And I agree. It's commendable. And it's a great
it's a great feeling.
Yeah, right. It is. It's a really good feeling. So it is a little selfish, I guess, on my part, because it is a great feeling. Yeah. But yeah, it's and they're great little communities. I mean, Globe and Miami have welcomed me with open arms. Oracle has welcomed me with open arms. We have some other locations that we're going to be investigating at in 2026 that have been phenomenal. And and I tell them, if you guys want to the directors, well, and I encourage them, as a matter of fact, investigate, because we do prelims, and come investigate with us. I want you to see how I operate. Right. And, because there may not even be a there. Right. So yeah, so it's good. It's a good experience. Yeah. But let's get back to the paranormal.
Well, do you do any residential investigations, Rita, or is it just
if it were a friend of mine, I would go in, but since we are a small business licensed, my insurance would not
cross over to that.
I just don't want to ever take that risk. And when you get into someone's home, that is something that is very, very personal. My background's in mental behavioral health with occupational therapy. And I understand when you get into someone's private space and you could do something and they perceive it as something else. So I just would, and I've heard the horror stories. And I just, where people say, oh, you made it worse, or something was missing, or, so I just, that's just, and it's just not my wheelhouse to go in. And like I said, if it were a friend, I'd be like, of course I'll come into your house and see what's going on. But it's, I leave that to the people that have more experience with that. That's their thing.
And the insurance too, to follow it.
That's the big thing. Because if you don't have insurance, you don't have a small business.
No, not at all.
It's required.
True. Very true.
Yeah. So
So I was going to ask you,
in Arizona, what's the most active place that you've been to?
for me, myself, I would say Clifton Hotel and Clifton Morenci.
Okay. I haven't been there yet.
It's fabulous. It's like obviously the building we're talking about that you have an affinity for. I do too in Oracle, but the Clifton Hotel is a nice place in my heart for it.
Uh-huh.
There's it's kind of funny too, because if you look at it's so cool because you have generational ghosts or entities that are there. Mm-hmm. So you have, a lady that's from like literally the 1800s where her husband was a miner. In fact, she literally, Misty has photographs of me coming out of that room and actually looking like I had no color, completely drained of my body. And she was prostitute. So she was Lady of the Night. Mm-hmm. So you go back to Ladies of the Night. I mean, they had a death as late as 2020, 2021. And he's there. There's a morgue next door. They come over to the hotel and they go back and forth between the morgue and the hotel. It's quite a bit of activity in that hotel. I mean, we had quite a bit of evidence that came through, not only just for me as a medium being able to see, hear, taste everything that goes on, but in addition to that, the mechanical evidence backed it up as well with, voice anomalies, things being knocked off the wall. I mean, it was really incredible. So I have a special place in my heart for that. In fact, there was a charity event we did for one of our team members who had stage 4 cancer. And the general manager donated a one-night gift certificate to the hotel. So I made sure I bid on that puppy and had it and won it because I want to go back, kind of like your affinity for the Sally House is the way I'm like, I got to go back. I want to go back alone.
How amazing. Yeah, I'm like that with Boyan Plaza. I mean, that's just kind of away from home. I'm in that building multiple times, just visiting and talking with people. But I could 35,000 square feet. And I'm walking that building at 4 a.m. by my lonesome and I'm just fine. And we've had so much activity there, but I don't think anything, wants to harm me. It wants to communicate with me. And you have so many artifacts because it's a cultural center now. So it was originally built as a segregated school in 1923 for the Apache and the Mexican-American children. I'm going to set the record straight because unfortunately there's some YouTube videos out there that say that this was a place where students were made to stay, like a boarding school, and it's not. We did have one, Phoenix Indian School, out here in Arizona, but this was just a school, a day school. Right. But schools were segregated back then, and it is a phenomenal. I mean, you look at it and it looks like a giant government building. It was built by Trost and Trost. They built some of the most amazing buildings all over the country. And it has the columns, everything. It's spectacular. And it was a segregated school, but then when it closed, and it was closed for several years, and then the city was able to acquire it and reopen it as a cultural center.
Nice.
And it is an amazing building. So you have not only the history with the school that happened, but you also have all these artifacts from all over the world, and a nod to certain things, like each room has different things in it. And then you have the basement, which there's definitely an elemental, a very strong spirit down there.
I felt it down there.
Yeah, and it's very strong, and it's very intelligent. And in fact, I used to, and again, my background in mental health, I mean, I've worked in psych hospitals, and when I first started going down there, it would be coming through on the spirit box, just like die, this, that. And I tell people there are no demons in the building that we go into, but there are some very strong and probably some very pissed off spirits that will say those things because that's how they control their environment. That's all they've got. They've got words, and if they can move things or touch. and or manifest in some way. And it used to say those things to me, and I learned a long time, very monotone, just cut and dry, very,
Yeah.
very controlled situation. And then it changed. Like one time I went down there and it was like all of a sudden became very charismatic. And I mean, my name comes through quite a bit. I've been touched, I've been pushed. And so it knew that that's trying to scare me didn't work.
Right.
And then and this is over the course of a few years. And then it became very charismatic towards me saying things. And now it's almost, I mean, I know this sounds weird, but it's almost like that homeostasis we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah. I'll give you this and you give me that. And,
Right.
And we go down there and a lot of things happen. And in fact, I have a video posted where I was doing an Estes with someone down there. And I said, and I was getting the feeling that it was kind of like, didn't want to interact with us at that point. And I said, okay, well, if you say my name, I'll end this right now. And no sooner did I say that the person doing the SD said, Rita, I said, okay, deal's a deal.
Yeah. Right.
Go upstairs. And that's, and that's how I investigate. I'll come revisit it later and see, but I'm not going to, for the sake
use them or
I'm not going to let things go sideways.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, it's a respect. We've had that happen too. There's a cemetery that we frequent quite a bit, and one of the residents at the cemetery has gotten to know us over time, and actually is excited for us to be there. Mm-hmm. And so, and we've heard our names come through on, the voice recorder and the spirit box. So it's really interesting once you've created that relationship with them, they're mm-hmm. more apt to talk to you and more apt to do things, which is nice.
So, and we're talking about hotels, where I'd love to go back to. I've been there a few times, is the Monte Vista.
Oh yeah.
In Flagstaff. And they're very welcoming also. They're all, because when I come, they know it's us. I mean, we've always got our team shirts on and our equipment in our boxes. So they know what's going on. And the staff has always been so wonderful. And I had rented the room with the rocking chair and the one next to it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I like to go into places blind. I don't want to know anything about it.
That's what I typically.
There was a rocking chair, but that's an old lady. But that's all I knew. Right. And we got into the room and turned on the spirit box. In fact, we have a video where the door would open and close on. I was asking it to do it, which was good. But I you have those moments when you're investigating and you'll always remember them. We were coming through that I'm sorry on the spirit box. I'm sorry. And it was like a woman was saying this to her family. I'm sorry. And what the heck happened? So, go out, have dinner, come back to the room. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do an SD session sitting in this rocking chair. And I sat down and something told me, again, because trust your gut, put your hand on the windowsill. And I did. And I've only had this happen to me twice where it was like a whoosh and something like was there.
Over top of you, yeah.
I'm in the moment. And it was these two men and they were like yelling at me and they were saying, we threw her out the window. She landed on her head. They were talking about, I don't know what I can say. And they were talking about blood. I mean, it was getting very,
wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and it finally got to the point where I said, I'm not going to say this. I'm not saying that. And when I would say that out loud, they got angrier what was coming through. They were getting mad at me because I said, I'm not going to repeat that. I can't say it. Plus we were doing a live. I was
right.
Like, I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. And I've got my hand on this window and I finally stopped it. And I was like, oh my God, she was a prostitute. Earlier we were getting, I'm sorry she got pregnant. And that was how they
disposed of her and the problem.
And the mafia was involved. So
I'm not surprised.
So yeah, I was like, this is crazy. Now we've got to do our backtracking and see
right.
Is that the case? Well, yeah, there was a woman that was thrown out that window. And yes, prostitution was very prevalent.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, okay, I totally believe it. So did I get the old woman sitting in the rocking chair? Absolutely not. I got something completely different. And again, it's not my place to change
Right.
the history, what they say is associated with that room. I can just say that that's what happened to us in that.
Right.
So that is an amazing, amazing hotel. I really like that. That and the Copper Queen, that's another amazing hotel out here.
Hotel Congress is another one that's a great one too. So Hotel Congress in Tucson.
Oh yeah, I've been there. Yeah, that is a great hotel.
So just, that one, of course, well, Tucson in general.
Yeah. I've only been in the lobby. And in fact, I was just looking at it online today, the Gatson.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be on my 2026 bingo card to go there and investigate. And
yeah, we've had a 6-month sabbatical due to health issues, myself and then another cohort. So I am super excited for 2026 to get back out and start doing the investigations again. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
And I don't think people realize how much history Arizona has. I mean, they just think this and cowboys, but just everything, and Globe especially. Globe is like that like little hidden gem,
right?
And but when you go to, like, here, I'll give you Big Nose Kate, who has ties to Globe, going Globe through Oracle into Tucson,
right?
And Tombstone. Buffalo Bill Cody, we've had him come through at the American Flag Ranch because the Jinx Ranch was right there in his silver mine, and he comes through quite a bit. So it's just Doc Holliday, Pete Spence, who was accused of, murdering one of the Earp brothers. And it's just, it's really interesting. And I'm so fortunate because I get so many people that come up and talk to me, because I'm like, if I'm not in scrubs, I'm in one of my company t-shirts.
Right. Yeah.
And people will always come up and be like, oh my God, I got to tell you what happened. I got to tell you the story. And so then when I start telling them the history of their own city, they're like, I never knew that. So it's nice to feel like you're helping impart that history. We have the same thing out here when I'm in Scottsdale, Cave Creek. I do. It's usually about twice a year. I do a pro bono paranormal investigation at the Cave Creek Museum, because that's where the Desmont Sanatorium was, and they have the last standing particular cabin. And these people will come on these investigations, and they're like, and I'll be telling them the history of Cave Creek, and they've lived there like all their life, and they don't know. So it's nice because you're giving them the correct history. It's not just hearsay,
right?
And B, they're becoming more invested in the community,
history,
more invested in the. I say they got a little skin in the game then. So they're more invested in the investigation also. So it's really neat. It's neat to do it from that perspective instead of just going into a place and getting a jump scare.
Right.
And then being like, oh,
I don't want to go. Then people don't want to go back.
No, they're like, oh, I'm all afraid.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And where I tell people, I come to it from the perspective is, how fortunate am I to have these experiences? How fortunate am I? I mean, I've even had a patient. I'll share a great story with you. So I, working in healthcare with the geriatric population, I had a patient that I had worked with for years, and I knew her family. I mean, she'd, be a patient and then leave, but come back. It was just chronic, something very chronic. And one day I went and talked to her, and she was so funny. She would call me her little adopted Polish child, because I'm Polish and she's Polish, and I'd bring her like little Polish goodies from the bakery or whatever. And so her one thing that she wanted to do was she wanted to be able to take herself to the bathroom. And to her, that was super important. I mean,
right.
And, and the caregivers, they don't have time to spend 45 minutes getting someone who moves very slowly up to go to the bathroom. But but I do. I had that luxury. And so every day that would be my treatment with her because it's something purposeful. And that's what we do is get her up, get her moving, going into the bathroom, doing whatever she does in there and going back to her room. And that would literally take 45 minutes. And so one morning I went to see her. She was going on to a doctor's appointment. I said, I just want you to know, I'm going to wait for you. Don't worry. If you get back late, it's okay. I'm going to wait for you. And so I, getting through my day, and it's like right around lunchtime, and I'm walking to another patient that's up on the second floor. I have an appointment with them, and workers, we tend to look side to side into rooms as we're walking because you want to make sure no one's on the floor and or up and about when they shouldn't be. Right. And I'm walking past her room, and there she, and I can still see it like it was yesterday. And she's walking into the bathroom, and I can see her from like her forearm back, right? And so I couldn't see like her hands or her wrists. And I remember thinking as I'm walking, I need to tell the CNAs to walk behind the patients, not in front of the patients, because they would do that a lot, be like encouraging, come on into the bathroom, pull their walkers for them.
But they're going to fall that way. Yeah.
They're going to fall backwards, and then you're not going to be able to stop them. And so I get upstairs, and I'm working with my other patient for like just a few minutes, and I get a phone call from my supervisor, and she says, I wanted to let you know before you heard it on the floor because, it's word spreads like wildfire. So-and-so died. I was like, no, she didn't. I just saw her in her room. I mean, like a few minutes ago. Did she fall and hit her head or have a massive heart attack? What do you mean? I just saw her. And I mean, clear as day. And she said, no, she was never in her room. They wheeled her in and sat her at a table. It was because it was lunchtime or her lunchtime. And she closed her eyes, and they thought she fell asleep, but she passed. But it would have been at the time I seen that I saw her. Right. And so I've always said, how I was saying I would wait for her to come see her for her appointment, but she came to me. She made sure that I saw her. And so it's like, I can't explain how, because I really had a fondness for her. I mean, we really grow attached to some of our patients that she could have had any family member see her, but she came to me and let me see her. And that she was, and that she was up on her feet doing what she wanted to do.
Right.
That was the biggest
independence.
That was her biggest thing. And ironically, I was telling that story at Bullion Plaza in the Slavic room, because remember I mentioned that she was Polish, and I had a little trinket that she had given me, a little porcelain. And I was telling this story, and we happened to have a photographer with us that day, and all the equipment started going off as I was telling this story, and he snapped a photograph, and there is a huge white mist above me. And I mean, it's on our Facebook page. And, I love it. And that's one of the ones, Bullion Plaza is the location that we had Ghost Adventures come to. And I'm the one who was like sending them all this information. You need to come out here. You need to come out here. And they went through the evidence that I sent them. And they're like, we cannot dispute this picture. That's
awesome.
It's a valid picture. Yeah. And, so it's, it's things like that that's how paranormal investigating should be done.
Right.
Not
I agree.
Through a jail with a bobby stick, across the jail bars.
Jail bars. Yeah, exactly.
That's not investigating. That's just antagonizing.
Or, claiming they're demons all the time. Unfortunately.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. We hear that.
Oh, I tell people, if someone tells you they're a demonologist, and there are valid demonologists out there. I'm not coming to it from that place, but if someone tells you they're a demonologist, turn around and walk away. Because in my eyes, and I have to do cultural competencies as part of my continuing education every year. And I have to be aware of all the different religions and how to be respectful with it, because I have, for my patient population. But I told someone once, I said, unless you have a degree in theology and you are very well studied in all religions and cultural competencies, please don't tell me that you're a demonologist, because you don't, you need to know all the religions. And I don't profess to know all the religions.
Correct. Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I have no problem saying, again, just like with, investigating houses, that's not my wheelhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, what are you going to do? Right.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you really,
Just
not much you can. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So, I'm trying to think of some other great place, again, Copper Bistro, not Copper Bistro. That's a restaurant. Copper
Queen Hotel. Yeah.
The other night. The Copper Queen Hotel is phenomenal. They are always so welcome to us coming out, and they're excited. They're excited to share. They're excited to share that with you. There is one hotel that I will not go back to. I will never give it a penny. I should never say never, but at this point in time, I don't feel like it's in Jerome, big hotel.
Yeah.
I won't give them a penny of my money. So, unfortunately, the general manager was incredibly rude to me. So it's like, I'm running the Grand Suite. So we're giving you a lot of money. And
right.
So, but I would have to say the majority of the hotels in Arizona are just so welcoming. And and we got on this again, Squirrel. We were talking about Arizona has such a rich history. It's amazing. And it's so different than, say, the East Coast. Gettysburg is someplace I've never been to, and I really want to go to.
That's a bucket list item too.
Boston and South Carolina and North Carolina, up all through there, and it's just different because their history is more involved with slavery,
right?
And
go to Monticello. I went to Monticello, which is in Virginia, Thomas Jefferson's. And it's amazing. You literally still have slaves that are walking around the property. And again, from my standpoint, I see, hear, feel. I have all the clairs. So there's times when I can smell cigar smoke. There's times when I can taste food, things like that. So it was amazing to go to Monticello, not only just for the fact of when it was built and what Thomas Jefferson put in place that was above and beyond the time that it was built, which is crazy. Like, the first dumb waiter, ringing a bell and then pulling it up. And then here's his wonderful bottle from the basement of his wine that he can have with dinner. So, I mean, he was quite a intelligent and scientifical individual. But yet when you walk the property, that's when you literally can feel and see, especially when you go to the slave quarters. And he was a kinder slave owner than a lot of the other families that had slaves. But even so, you still see the conditions that they're living in, and you still see them in the fields. You still see them walking around as they were in the 1800s, 1900s,
That would be so overwhelming to me. I mean, it's
a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, just because like with what I get, and it's, and even my husband will be like, you weird me out sometimes. I mean,
I do that to my husband too.
We got to do this. We got to go. We got to do this. We got to do this. And he's like, why? And it's like, and then I'll start saying things about things. Here, I'll give you a perfect example. I got the house that I'm in, this one right here, my house in Scottsdale. I'm way up on the Tano National Forest. It's old Holcomb ground, not too far from the Sears Cay ruins. And I mean, we're kind of up on a hill, and I could literally see, the ruins are just a few miles as the crow flies. And we've had a lot of, all my homes have had activity in them. But this one, when we moved here, I was like, wow, this is way different. This is way different. And
Native American.
Yeah, it is. And I had someone come out, they're like, you have a like they
Chief.
yeah, thank you. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
So and I have a lot of people, and people have always seen like shadow figures, full bodied apparitions, all those things happen here. And I came home, we had been in Globe for a couple of days, and I came home, and my house is built into a hill. So technically I have like a basement. So if you walk in the front, it's main level. But if you go downstairs, the back part, it's lower level. So
Underground. Yeah.
And I I had just put out all my Christmas stuff, and I hung these bells from the door downstairs. And so I'm up, I get home, and my husband was driving his vehicle home. He was going to be home a few hours after me. And I'm upstairs, and I'm in the bathroom of all places, which is the powder room, which is right by where the stairs go down into the lower level. And I swear I hear someone walking around down there. And I was like, oh, uh-oh, because I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, what's going on? What's going on? And, you get that feeling someone's in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was like, I am not going down there. I'm
Yeah.
just home in an hour. Nope, not doing it. And I wasn't afraid. I was just, no, I'm just not in the mood. I'm not in the mood right now. So I go I'm in the bathroom, and I kid you not, those freaking bells start ringing. Just the big jingle bells that hang. And I was like, oh, F right now. And like
I'm going to stay in the bathroom.
And I had been gone for like a week. And like, oh, you're here, you're finally here. And so at the moment my husband walked in, I was like, I gotta go downstairs. And I ran downstairs and went through all the rooms, and because the downstairs is as big as the upstairs. So there's quite a bit down there. And and I came up, and I was telling him the story about the bells, because that's always a funny story. Because we would have nights where the bells I literally have bells on my doors upstairs, because our dogs, we had trained them to hit
to go to the bathroom
outside. Yeah. The thing is, we would get woken up at night, and the dogs would be in their crate, and we'd hear those bells ringing. So, and my husband's so funny, because he's experienced the paranormal quite a bit, but he's an engineer, and it's got to fit in that box. So even though he's experienced it, he tells himself he doesn't believe in it. And
sounds like my husband.
He would tell me, he'd be like, those damn bells had me up all night, and the dog wasn't even hitting him. Oh, well, can you Einstein explain that? Okay. So, and even Einstein believed in ghosts. So I
was just going to say, Einstein believed in ghosts. It's funny you took the words right out of my mouth.
So so it's just things like that are always happening, and you just get, and again, growing up with it, you just kind of get used to it. You get used to, seeing shadow figures. Like, what do you want? The one time I did, have you ever had anything follow you home?
I have not. I've had a girlfriend who had it was a funny story, but yeah, I had a girlfriend that had that. She came on an investigation, and it was in the middle of a cemetery, and I knew exactly what grave it was, and it was a potter's field, and literally I knew the guy's name, and it wasn't on the headstone, because they had they were like little round holes, and no names on them whatsoever. But I am so good about usually going in and saying, like, okay, thank you so much. I appreciate, because I like you having something to say beforehand and after. Always, thank them so much for letting us talk to them. We will come back and see you and visit you. Please stay here. You're not allowed to come with us. But this particular night was a rainstorm, and so we were frantic to get to our cars. So that went by the wayside. So I get in the car, and then my girlfriend calls me, because it's a rule that I always have with my girlfriends to call me when they get home. Text me or call me. Usually it's text. If it's calling, it means something's wrong. So she called me, and it was really fast. And she said to me, what is in my car? And I started laughing and I'm like, oh my God. I said, you have an entity that followed you. And I said, that's what you get for wearing a low cut top to a graveyard in an investigation. She did. I mean, she's quite well endowed. And so the top was very low. Well, his name was Alex, and he was a Hispanic. And think of Rico Suave, if you can. He had the slicked back hair, and he was, just really like, very well assured of himself. She said that she was driving down the road, and all she could smell was like this cheap cologne that you would get like at a Walgreens or a CVS. And she thought her daughter had perfume and it spilled in the car or something. So she literally got off the freeway at one point and was digging her car out in the back seat looking for this cologne or this perfume, and was perplexed that she could. And then all of a sudden it dawned on her. So she called me and I'm like, yeah, you have an attachment. So this is what you need to say. This is what you need to do. And so the next time I went back for the scheduled investigation, it was funny. I walked right by his grave and said, nice try, Alex. That was pretty funny. And he said, all the ladies like my cologne. It's the best. And she was very voluptuous. And I just laughed. I was like, so now Alicia will not ever go on any investigation with me again now because she's scared she's going to get an attachment. So yes, not to me, but to my best friend it happened to.
Oh my God. I've had one time, and it was several years ago, and it was actually Kingsley Olds from the 1910 jail.
Yeah.
For those watching, that's an old, it was built in 1910, the old Gila County jail. And there was their most notorious prisoner or inmate there is Kingsley Olds. And he was accused of murdering two young sisters, the Goswick sisters, at Myrtle and Lulu. And I never believed he did it. And, and he was one of the first there. That was one of the first investigations I ever went to in Arizona was there. And nice. I was laying on the very first time I was there, I was up in his cell at night, and he was put in a certain cell for purpose because he was, the courthouse was right across the alley. He was assassinated. I mean, I truly believe he was put in that cell to be assassinated, but, because the Goswick family was pretty well known in that city. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the first night I was there, I was laying on the floor, like on a sleeping bag, and I had a sheet over my knees, and I had been doing a lot of investigating. I was very drawn to that cell, and he, had been coming through quite a bit. And a younger gal comes in, she goes, can I stay in here with you? I'm afraid. And I said, okay, but you got to be out that side. Cause I was in the main, where the cell is, it's a cell inside a room. Right. And so I was talking to her, and, when you're laying and you kind of have your knees bent, so your feet are flat on the floor, and the sheet was over my knees, and all of a sudden it just whoosh, got pulled off of me. And I said, did you see that? And she goes, I did.
She ran.
Just a little terrified. But I've been going back there ever since. And again, I always thought that, and again, it's not my story to change, but me personally, I don't think he did it. He was there. I think there's another story to it. But one time I was there, and I don't know, it was almost like something overcame me. It's really weird to say that, where I said, I bet that makes you feel like a big guy, what you did to those kids. And even one of my teammates was like, what the hell just came out of your mouth? Because that's not me.
Right.
Not how I investigate. And, and I went home, and it was one of those where I get home, like at 10 in the morning, go through my day. The next night I go to sleep, and and my husband had dozed off in his chair in the living room, his recliner, and I'm in bed reading my Kindle, and we have a nightlight. So the room's dark except for the nightlight in my Kindle. And I see what I think a big male figure walk across the foot of my bed to my husband's side, thinking it's my husband, put down my Kindle and said, oh, you're coming to bed? because normally he would like wake up at 1 and crawl into bed. And when I put my Kindle down and said that, there was no one there.
Wow.
And it was one of those, I knew immediately who it was.
He followed you home.
You just know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, when they have those movies where you don't want to get off the bed because there's something under the bed that's going to get you? That's what I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe I can be in this house. I mean, I'm in this house by myself all the time at night and weird stuff, you know, full body, everything. But this scared me.
Wow.
And I was afraid to get off the bed. And then finally, after a couple of minutes, I like jumped off the bed and ran into the living room and woke my husband up and said, you need to come to bed now. Comes to bed. And I'm thinking I'm safe, right?
Right.
Well, around 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's just, you know, the time. I'm not saying witching hour or anything like that. It was just around 3 o'clock-ish in the morning. And my bed is a king size, huge wooden bed. I mean, this thing is massive. And right around 3 o'clock in the morning, what woke me up was something slammed into the side of the bed. I literally thought it was I had a 90-pound pit bull at the time. I thought he ran into the bed or something.
Wow.
But it was even more force than that. Just like smacked into the side of the bed, woke me up, and I heard a guy's voice yell in my ear, go, hey. And I was like, oh, fuck. What did I do? What did I do?
What did I bring home?
Right. Oh, I knew it was Kingsley. I mean, I knew. And so I called someone in the morning that could help me, and she walked me through, and it was my chief spirit who resides here that helped be like, okay. And I literally had to sit down and be like, okay, I am sorry. I don't know why that came out of my mouth. I don't believe you did that.
Right.
I will never do that again. That was so disrespectful, but this is my home and you need to go back to your home.
Right.
And
exactly.
I won't ever do that again. And I haven't had it happen since that. He hasn't been here, but he does follow us, and a lot of the spirits follow us around to different locations. They move about globe quite a bit.
Right.
But, we have gotten a ton ever since that, a ton of like evidence of what really happened and how I feel it went down. And, you know, and I keep that to our investigations. I don't, you know, spout it out to the city like, hey, you guys got to change your story, because it's just what I'm getting versus what they have. So that was, you know, I think it was kind of one of those, like when you are, you know, you have a crotchety old person around you and you got butt heads all the time. And then you guys come to like blow up, and then you're
agreement.
Like, now we can talk.
Right.
And so because I feel quite comfortable in his cell and in the jail. I don't like the second floor in the jail. The second floor men's tank, I won't go there by myself.
There's a few people that have said the same thing about that area. So there's something to that for sure.
Yeah. We've had an arsonist that comes through quite a bit. His name's Mike, and we actually got a picture of him.
Oh, wow.
In Estes. And you can see I'm in a cell and it's lit up with red. And someone took a picture, and there's a big guy standing in the hall outside of the cells, because the cells have like a catwalk around them.
Yeah.
And so he's standing in the hall outside of the cells, and you can tell it's not a shadow from anyone in our group. We only had a few people there because there's a pole there, and the pole is in front of him. You can clearly,
and there's no shadow of him on the pole either.
He's out on the other side of the pole. Yeah. And I mean, a big guy, and he comes through on he follows around and comes through on quite a bit. And that's a lot of times where, like, if we're doing Estes, I have to be very cautious that things don't go sideways on it, because he really likes to talk about what he's done and why he's done it. And he gets enjoyment out of people
Yeah.
repeating.
Squirming.
That. Yeah. So
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
but again, it's just, it's just that he's there. That's his home. I'm going to be respectful to him because I'm in his space.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I want to hear his story. So I can't change, but I can't change what he did, but I can certainly control how we
talk to him and investigate it and respect him. Yeah. Exactly. Chrissy, did you have any more questions?
Oh,
He's been like, they've been talking all night.
No, I love it. This is like,
that was awesome.
Yeah, no, I've been kind of babying my sinus headache here, and I have my grandson here who's being being a little jerk.
Is that Wyatt?
So I've been trying to shoo him away, and he's been like, "I want to say hi." I was like, "No, don't say hi."
No, and here I've been swearing.
But no, it's fascinating. Rita, you are absolute one of the best guests we ever had at the Paranormal. I mean, I loved it. I would love for you to come back on.
Yeah.
If you go to the Sally's house and give us, a report and everything.
I am so stoked to go back there.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, you two live in Arizona. Have you two ever, or I should say, have you thought right now maybe getting together and doing something together?
Sure. I've never met Rita.
Yeah.
I've never met her.
Where are you at? What part of Scottsdale are you in? Ish.
You know where Paradise Valley Mall is? The old Paradise Valley Mall? I'm literally in that area, in the horse property areas over there. Tatum and Thunderbird roughly is where I'm at. So yeah, not far. And I have a friend that lives up your way, Kelly Ames, and she's a rabbit rescue. So she's up in your neck of the woods.
A lot of animals up here.
And she's got horses and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Would love to meet you in person.
Yes, that I think it'd be great. I would love to hear about it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Iowa, so not much.
But she's coming down. You're coming down. What is it, May, Chrissy?
I don't know when for sure. It's been May, then it jumps to this part, then this part. So I really don't know. It's trying to get the whole family together. We have there's 4 kids that I have, so trying to get their family together too. So you're talking about 22, 23 of us jam into like a little, I guess you could say like a mini bus, and it's like everybody's trying to get their vacation plan and everything. So it's way too soon yet. So, we have to wait until probably February before we decide what to do. But yes, we're definitely going to come down. If it's just Chris and I, my husband and I, or with the whole family, but we definitely think about coming down. So
then she can meet Rita in person.
Yeah, your husband's name is Chris also?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Chris and Chrissy.
Yeah, I just want to say, Rita, you really need to go to Gettysburg.
Oh yeah, that sounds like it's amazing.
It is. I mean, as soon as you enter the whole town, it's just, you get all kinds of heebie-jeebies, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a lot of great vibes and a lot of sad vibes too. It's very emotional.
And I like going to places. I mean, I love going to, when I can, to Paracons to meet people and and share our stories. But there's just something about going when there's not 100 people around.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. So we were at the Missouri Paracon last year, and we went on this. I had never been on one of their things because my groups are smaller, and we signed up for this one at the Odd Fellows building, and it had a cemetery near it and these other buildings around it, and it was Adam Berry was part of it, and some and Shane Pittman and other people and stuff like that. And when I got there, I was like, oh, Belvoir Winery, that's it. And amazing building, amazing location. But there were a lot of people there, a lot of people there. And so, of course, I show up with some of my equipment in my backpack, and I have my other team members there with me, and one other with me, and we're in the upstairs room at Adam Berry, and the room that was a room that was used as an orphanage, where the kids, that's where they stayed, their quarters, sleeping quarters. And so they had brought, the building was also an Oddfellows building, so they had brought the casket up because the Oddfellows tend to have the skeleton in the casket.
Right.
And so he's trying to get all this stuff. He's trying to get all this. Nothing's happening. It's like crickets, right?
Wow.
And I'm looking at my teammate, and I said, I'm going to pull out my equipment. She goes, don't do it. Don't do it. I said, come on, I want to pull out my equipment. She's like, don't do it. I was like, I'm just going to pull out. I carry a pair of like collapsing dowsing rods. I was like, I'm going to pull out my dowsing rods. She's like, don't do it. But nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And I look at Adam Berry. I said, so do you mind if I pull out a few pieces of equipment? And he's like, no, go ahead. Because he's kind of sweating it because not a dang thing is happening.
Wow.
So I had like a REM pod and a few other things and some sensor balls, and of course everything can't get too far away from me, and there's like 30 people in a circle around this casket, and I start asking some questions, and the equipment starts going off, and I look at him, I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not getting anything because it's nighttime and the kids aren't supposed to be talking. It's lights out.
Right. Correct.
And he's like, how do you know that? And I said, and it's that story going on in my head. I said, because. And so he's like, oh, okay. And he starts asking some questions of the kids and saying, you're not going to get in trouble. Well, then of course the equipment starts going off. So ours, it was where you go to different locations on the property, right, in groups. So then I pack up all my stuff and go to the next group. And it was out in the cemetery. And I was kind of like standing away because people who didn't, I get to experience this all the time, right? I have the equipment, I have all the doodars and everything. So it's like, let those other people experience it. So I'm kind of off my own, doing my own thing. And then we go to this other room, and we had brought an SLS camera with also, and we're getting like something around, and something was actually pulling my cross body bag, had tassels on it, and something kept pulling on the tassels. And we're sitting and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And another person had an SLS camera also, and they're like, there's little kids around you. So the evening ends, and the next day we're at the Paracon, and I run into Adam Berry, and I said, I wanted to tell you that the kids that were coming through upstairs in the room with the coffin, they followed us around. I said, they were coming through at all the other different locations. And he goes, well, that makes sense because the moment you guys left, nothing. He goes, nothing happened. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
We stole the children. We took them to the cemetery.
Like, so that was a interesting story. I don't know if he was he probably thought we did that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You stole the ghosts. You stole them.
Stuff happened.
That was excellent. Well, we need to hush. Okay, my grandson's going crazy over here. So, we need to let you go, Rita. But I really do want you to come back.
Oh, sure,
next year and everything. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning in tonight. Many blessings and keep warm and everything. Many blessings to you all, and subscribe, like, and share the channel. We love to see you come back. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Rita.
Bye.